I still remember the exact sound my son's laughter made as we walked through the airport terminal. He was only 9 years old, dragging his tiny blue suitcase behind him with one hand while proudly carrying a stuffed dinosaur under his other arm. For the first time in months, he looked genuinely happy. That vacation had been our escape. Not from work, not from school, but from grief. Just 6 months earlier, my husband Daniel had died unexpectedly from a heart attack at only 43. One normal Tuesday morning, he kissed us goodbye before work. By lunchtime, he was gone. No warning. No goodbye. No final conversation. Only silence. The funeral emptied our savings. The hospital bills swallowed everything else. Suddenly, I wasn't just a wife mourning her husband. I was a single mother trying to convince a frightened little boy that life would somehow be okay again. Ethan cried every night. Not loudly. Quietly. The kind of crying children do when they don't want adults to hear them. Sometimes I'd stand outside his bedroom listening to him whisper into the darkness. I miss Dad. I never interrupted. Some grief deserves privacy. After Daniel's death, my mother insisted we move into her large family house, just until we got back on our feet. She said she wanted to help. My younger sister Vanessa already lived there. She was 33, 7 months pregnant, unemployed, single, and somehow, always the center of everyone's attention. Growing up, everything revolved around Vanessa. If she wanted my bicycle, I had to share. If she ruined my clothes, I had to apologize for making her upset. If she lied, Mom somehow found a reason to blame me. I learned very young that fairness wasn't a rule in our family. It was optional. Mostly optional for Vanessa. Still, after Daniel died, I convinced myself things would be different. People change after tragedy, don't they? For a while, it almost seemed true. Mom cooked dinner every night. Vanessa acted unusually kind. She even offered to babysit Ethan once or twice. I dared to hope. Maybe losing Daniel had healed old family wounds. I was wrong. 3 weeks before school started, Ethan asked if we could take one small vacation before 4th grade began. Nothing expensive. Just 3 days at a lakeside cabin Daniel used to love. I hesitated. Money was tight. But then I remembered something Daniel once told me. Experiences are worth more than things. So I booked the cheapest cabin I could find. 3 peaceful days. Fishing, campfires, board games. 472 hours. My son smiled again. I thought life was finally beginning to heal. I couldn't have imagined what waited at home. As soon as I opened the front door, something felt wrong. The hallway seemed strangely empty. Then Ethan ran upstairs. A second later, I heard a scream. Not loud. Not angry. Terrified. Mom. I dropped my bags and raced upstairs. His bedroom door stood wide open. Inside, nothing. No bed. No dresser. No bookshelf. No desk. No toys. No baseball trophies. No framed photos of him and his father. Even the curtains were gone. Only blank walls remained. The room echoed. It looked abandoned, like nobody had ever lived there. Ethan stood frozen, his little hands shaking. Mom, where's my room? My heart nearly stopped. I ran downstairs. What happened? Vanessa looked up from the couch eating ice cream. She burst into laughter. Oh, you finally noticed. I stared at her. What are you talking about? She shrugged. I needed a nursery, so I took the room. My brain refused to process her words. My son's room. My baby deserves it more. Then she smiled. I sold everything. She actually laughed. I got a surprisingly good price. I felt physically sick. What? The furniture. The toys. The TV. The baseball cards. The bike. The gaming console. The desk. The clothes. The books. Everything. She took another bite of ice cream. People buy anything online. I couldn't breathe. Those weren't just possessions. Many belonged to Daniel. His last birthday gift to Ethan. The glove they used every Saturday. The handmade bookshelf Daniel built himself. The framed Father's Day drawing Ethan made only weeks before Daniel died. Gone. Sold for cash. Mom walked into the kitchen smiling. Oh, don't make such a scene. I looked at her in disbelief. You knew. Of course. Vanessa needs the room. She's about to have a baby. I whispered. What about Ethan? Mom waved her hand dismissively. He can sleep in the basement. I thought I misheard. The basement. It's finished. It has a couch. He's only 9. Mom sighed dramatically. You always overreact. Your sister is creating life. Your son already has memories. I turned around. Ethan had followed me down stairs. He wasn't crying loudly. He simply clutched my shirt with both hands. His voice barely audible. Mom. I want Dad. That sentence broke something inside me. I looked around the room. At my mother. At Vanessa. At their smiling faces. Neither looked guilty. Neither apologized. Neither understood what they had stolen. Not furniture. Childhood. Security. The last physical pieces of my husband. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I simply nodded. Okay. Vanessa smirked. I knew you'd understand. I smiled politely. Then I walked upstairs. Packed every remaining belonging we still owned. Collected important documents. Grabbed passports. Birth certificates. Insurance papers. Daniel's ashes. Every family photo still left. 30 minutes later, Ethan and I walked out the front door. Neither Mom nor Vanessa bothered asking where we were going. They assumed we'd calm down. Come back tomorrow. Apologize. We never did. Instead, I drove directly to my late husband's older brother, Michael. Unlike the rest of Daniel's family, Michael had always treated me like a sister. When he saw Ethan's empty eyes, he didn't ask questions first. He hugged him. Then he listened. Every detail. When I finished, Michael became strangely quiet. Then he asked one question. Did your mother legally own anything they sold? No. Were those your possessions? Yes. Were there witnesses? Yes. Michael nodded once. Good. What? They just committed multiple crimes. I blinked. What do you mean? Theft. Conversion. Possibly fraud. Maybe even destruction of sentimental property. I had never thought about legal action. I only wanted distance. Michael insisted we document everything immediately. Old family photos showing Ethan's room. Purchase receipts. Insurance records. Messages from Vanessa admitting she sold everything. Facebook Marketplace screenshots. Neighbor statements. Within days, an attorney filed civil claims. Police reports followed. Vanessa laughed when she received the first legal notice. Mom called me. Seriously? You're suing your pregnant sister? I answered calmly. No. I'm holding an adult accountable. She hung up. The next months became a nightmare. For them. The buyers were contacted. Several expensive items were recovered. Others couldn't be found. Vanessa had already spent most of the money. The court ordered financial restitution. She couldn't pay. Then another surprise emerged. The house wasn't actually Mom's. It belonged equally to 3 siblings after my grandfather's death. The estate had never officially settled. Michael hired another attorney. Within THS, the property entered legal dispute. Mom suddenly faced the possibility of selling the house entirely. Stress consumed both of them. Family members who once sided with Vanessa slowly learned the truth. Especially after Ethan quietly testified during mediation. He didn't accuse anyone. He simply described his room. His father's gifts. His missing baseball glove. Then he looked at the mediator and asked, "Can memories be bought back?" Nobody spoke for several minutes. Even Vanessa cried. But not because she felt guilty. Because consequences had finally arrived. The court ruled fully in our favor. Restitution. Damages. Legal costs. Interest. The financial burden became overwhelming. Mom had to refinance the house. Vanessa declared personal bankruptcy before her baby's first birthday. Friends disappeared. The same relatives who once defended her stopped answering her calls. Meanwhile, Michael helped us buy a small townhouse. Nothing luxurious. But every room belonged to us. The first thing we built. was Ethan's bedroom. Together, Michael rebuilt the wooden bookshelf from old photographs. Neighbors donated books. Teachers organized a fundraiser without telling us. Daniel's coworkers surprised Ethan with a brand new bicycle. One evening, months later, Ethan stood in his new room. He looked around, then smiled. "This feels like home," I asked softly. "Because of the furniture?" He shook his head. "No, because nobody here will take it away." Years passed. Ethan grew into a confident young man. He studied architecture, inspired by his father, inspired by rebuilding. At his college graduation, he gave a short speech. He thanked teachers, friends, his Uncle Michael. Then he looked at me. "When people destroy something you love, you have two choices. You can spend your life crying over what they took, or spend your future building something they can never touch." The audience stood and applauded. I cried harder than anyone. Sometimes people ask if I ever forgave my mother. The answer surprises them. Forgiveness and reconciliation are different things. I forgave her for my own peace, but I never invited her back into my life. Trust, once sold as cheaply as a child's memories, is almost impossible to buy back. As for Vanessa, she eventually admitted in court that she never needed Ethan's room. She simply wanted the largest bedroom in the house before her baby arrived. Her greed cost her far more than any furniture could ever have been worth. And every time I watch Ethan laughing in the home we built together, I remember something Daniel once told me long before he died. The people who betray you usually think they've won because they only count today's profit. They never imagine tomorrow's consequences. They sold a bedroom, but karma took everything they believed they had. Ned.